Madam Speaker, the issue of reservation was well settled by the Honorable Supreme Court of India, consisting of 12-member judges. But these judges did not distinguish differences in posts. They did not say that this reservation is only for lower level posts and not for higher level or highly technically qualified posts. So this Supreme Court is deviating, is violating the earlier judgment. So the government should immediately intervene and see that
Thank you.
rectified.
Swagata Roy ji. Shiki, in a moment.
You start from agreement. Madam Speaker, the government of Sri Lanka is not a friendly country. Our government says that it is a friendly country, whereas Sri Lanka has decided to violate the bilateral agreement signed between Rajiv Gandhi and Jayawardene. They are not following, they are arresting our fishermen even in our maritime, within our maritime boundary. They are not helping the Tamils. They are accused of human rights violations and genocide. So we want the government not to participate in the Commonwealth Heads of Government meet, which is to be held in Colombo during the month of November. Madam, I request that if the government tries to participate, that is an insult to the people of Tamil Nadu who are day in and day out suffering by the army, navy of Sri Lanka. Our fishermen's lives are in peril. Their livelihood is in peril. In this situation, the government of India should boycott attending the conference to be held at Colombo during the month of November. Thank you, madam.
Resume again.
Sri,
Unless you can answer this question, unemployment.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Sir, I am not an economist, but I represent common man. Many issues were dealt by Honorable Yashwant Sinha ji, Honorable Gurdas Das Gupta ji, who are a knowledge of economics. I am not even a student of economics. I speak on the point of the common man. The common man is not concerned about the balance of payment crisis. He is very much concerned about the increase in price of gold, which he intends to purchase for the wedding of his daughter. He is not concerned about the depleting foreign exchange reserve. He is concerned about the daily increase in petrol prices for which he has to spend on his as fuel for his motorcycle. So he is very much worried as to how these things will be controlled. Now, as was discussed here, the government had increased the cap on FDI on certain sections up to 100% in certain sectors, but nothing has come. No FDI has come so far on any of the sectors now. Sir, I wish to read some of the things, some of the data I have read from certain newspapers. Sir, all the policies of the government which were announced in a hurry, like raising the duty on gold import, controls on capital outflow, liberalizing rules for capital inflows, have only had the opposite impact and not the desired effect. This the government should know. The private investment has fallen for 10 consecutive quarters. Industrial production declined, but consumer price inflation is still in double digits. Since June this year, during the last 3 months, more than $12 billion have been withdrawn by portfolio investors. It has gone away from this country. There is no public expenditure on basic infrastructure. as well as now they have come out with the food security bill. But in health sector, sanitation and education, there is no increase in public expenditure. Growth has slowed to a 10-year low. It is about a little above 5%, the lowest in these 10 years. These are the figures which I have culled out from various newspapers. But what is the reason? What is the reason? I can only say that the government has failed to give confidence, to create an atmosphere in the minds of the investors, to give confidence for the investors that India is a safe place for investment. We have been receiving foreign exchange. We have been receiving foreign direct investment in various sectors. Now, when the investors finds that this government alone has no say in the policies of their own, there are agencies from outside who can intervene. There are agencies from outside who can try to stall, who can try to stop these policies of the government, to change the policies of the government. Then how will the people have confidence in investment? The government formulates a policy. Like in Pakistan, we have seen, whenever there is an elected government comes to power, immediately a martial rule is imposed. Now in India, there is an elected government which is in power. A judicial rule is being imposed in this country. Every act of the government is scrutinized by judiciary. Judiciary involves even in the policy decisions of the government. The government cannot promulgate their own policies. They cannot carry out their own policies. There is an intervention from the judiciary. Then how will the people have confidence in this country to invest? How will the people come to this country to invest? What has happened in telecom sector? We have opened up 100%. We have increased the cap to 100% in telecom sectors, but I don't think any company will come here. Nobody will come. Vodafone, I think the Supreme Court has intervened on an issue and they will happily get out of this country. That is the situation. So I want the government to be strong enough to create confidence in the minds of the people. Sir, many of the schemes, I come from the state of Tamil Nadu. We had many infrastructure schemes wherein we had invested crores and crores of rupees, like the Sethu Samutram project, one project, and Chennai Port Madurai Oil Expressway project. Both the projects where we have invested more than 1,000 crores of rupees could not be completed because of intervention. These were schemes by the central government, but the state government can stop it. A judiciary can stop it.
Take your seat, take your seat. Please don't disturb.
The state government has stopped it. The state government has not cleared. Now the government of India...
Tambidureji, please take your seat. No interruption, please. Yes, Langovenji, you may wind up your speech.
So, what we lack, what
Please,
the
please.
government lacks
Please take your seat,
is
Tambidureji.
that they have not
Langovenji, please.
created an atmosphere wherein the
Yes.
investors will have the confidence to
Yes.
invest. Not even private individuals, for the local savings, small savings. They should believe in the government. They should have confidence in the government.
Please conclude.
So the only question is that this failure is because of the failure of the government in creating the confidence necessary for the investors to come to this country. With
Yes.
these words, I conclude. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Langovenji.
Government will play the
Sri
role of the
Sri
mediator.
T.K.S.
We will
Elongowanji.
support the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman sir, for having allowed me to speak on the Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Bill, which has seen the light of the day after various changes, I'm happy to say that many of the recommendations made by the DMK party was accepted by the Honorable Minister, and I am thankful to the Honorable Minister. Sir, the framers of the Constitution of India regarded right to property as a fundamental right. Earlier in the Constitution of India, this right to property was incorporated in Article 19(1)(f) of the Constitution, which is the fundamental right. Right to property is a fundamental right. But subsequently, it was deleted from that Article 19 and relegated to Section 300A, which merely says, no person shall be deprived of his property save by authority of law. A fundamental right was taken away and a concession was given to a person who has his property, who shall not be deprived of the property unless saved by law, which means that was taken away by the government. Sir, there cannot be two views on the issue that the Land Acquisition Act 1894 should be repealed. That act has no purpose now. It is a very old act which will have no value now, and most of the problems relating to acquisition of land comes because of that act. So we welcome this act, but at the same time, this bill, but at the same time we want to make certain suggestions. Sir, particularly the price of farmland. The price of farmland differs from period to period. When there are 2 years of drought in an area, the cost of land will go down. The farmer will want to sell it away at whatever price, at a throwaway price, and go for another employment for his livelihood. If there is continuous rain, he will not be willing to sell the land. So, the price of farmland varies depending on the climatic conditions of a certain place. So, the government should protect that interest of the farmers. That should be the main aim of the government. Sir, there is, I want to read point number 12 from the Statement of Objects and Reasons. Sir, it says, in districts where net sown area is less than 50% of total geographical area, no more than 10% of the net sown area of the district will be acquired. Sir, this should be deleted. If in a district the net sown area is less than 50%, there should not be any acquisition in that district, because our population is growing. We need employment, but we need food also. What is the use if we earn more but we don't have enough food? So the government should fix that in every district, the sown area should not be less than 50% of the geographical area of that district. We have such a system with regard to forests. There should be a 33% forest cover in this country. So we should have such a stipulation that there shall be 50% of arable land in this country that should be divided in all the 600 odd districts of this country. So if the land sown area of a district is less than 50%, there should not be any acquisition from that district. That the government should keep it in mind, which will help the people there. Sir, the government of Tamil Nadu and our leadership, when our leader Dr. Kalaignar Karunanidhi was the chief minister, we had enacted the Tamil Nadu Acquisition of Land for Industrial Purposes Act 1997, wherein that the provision in it recognizes the legitimate right of the landowner and the need for consent and consensus in matters touching upon economic development. This act further provided for the use of land only for the purpose for which it was acquired and not for any other purpose. Impoverishing individual landowners in the guise of economic development was discountenanced by this legislation. I am reading this because of the another point number 19 in the objects and reasons. You have stated that land that is not used within 10 years in accordance with the purposes for which it was acquired shall be transferred to the state government's land bank. Upon every transfer of land without development, 20% of the appreciated land value shall be shared with the original landowners. Sir, this should not be there, sir. Even after 10 years, if
Mr. Jairam Ramesh, Honorable Minister, I think so you must take permission from the chair. I think so you should not directly
I just
intervene to
want to
the
clarify
member.
because this point
No,
has come.
let us you ask from the chair.
I want to clarify.
And
that
if
we are
you
coming
yield,
up with
then
an
only you can
amendment
get
on this matter.
opportunity.
so further, there are certain state acts, like in Tamil Nadu, we have this Panchami Land Act, lands given to the scheduled castes in our state. They innocently or ignorantly, they sell their land to others. This land is not sellable. So this land should not be acquired for any other purpose. It should be left to the scheduled caste to whom the land was given by the government. So these things should be covered by this act. Sir, then I come to section 98(1) and 98(2), sir. Section 98(1) says, subject to subsection 3 of the provisions of this act shall not apply to the enactments relating to land acquisition specified in 4th schedule. But the other section says, subject to subsection 2 of section 99, the central government may, by notification, omit or add to any of the enactments specified in the 4th schedule. This is totally contradictory. You say that it shall not apply to enactments relating to land acquisition specified in 4th schedule. Then you take up the provision of adding or deleting anything in the 4th schedule, which means the 98(1) will lose its relevance in due course. You will add something, you have the power to add something, and you still say that it shall not apply to the enactments related to land. You fix it. You fix the 4th schedule. You weed out whatever is not necessary. Otherwise, it contradicts. 98(2) contradicts 98(1). So, I want the minister to please note that also. There is one more thing. In section 7, you talk about a committee,
I didn't see, madam.
expert group, consisting of people from various sections, and it shall consist of 2 non-official social scientists. You have not clarified, you have not defined a social scientist. Whether a social scientist will be from elsewhere, from some other state, from some other district, whether he will know what is happening in a particular district where the government is going for land acquisition. So the person who sits in the committee should have some knowledge of about the area in which land is acquired. So you should define that. Otherwise, this is a welcome act. We were waiting for such an act which will repeal the 100-century-old act. With these words, I support the bill. Thank you, sir. Reservation for OBCs and STs has been a problem. The government assured that they will bring in a constitutional amendment bill during this session itself. But whereas so far there is no move from the government side to introduce a bill, a constitutional amendment bill in this session. There are only 4 more days left But the government has so far not acted or not initiated any move to bring in a legislation to amend the constitution so that the reservation for SCs and STs are protected. Madam, further, the DOPT should issue a fresh circular so that the reservation percentage as accepted by the government should be implemented in toto and in a proper way. Whereas the present notification has many faulty things with which many public sector undertakings are taking.
स्वागत है रॉय
Thank you, madam.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद
लंगोवन
For allowing me to speak on this very important subject of pension. Madam, when this bill was introduced during the last parliament, we had opposed the bill on the account that the money pension fund should not be invested in private sector or should not be invested in private securities. Now, the bill also adds one more dangerous feature by way of an amendment that the 26% of FDI is allowed for the pension fund. Madam, the government has not taken our views very seriously, and because you know the fluctuating market today, you know how the Nifty is oscillating, how Nifty figures have come down, you know how the market fluctuations are. In this period, if the pension fund is allowed to be invested in the public as a public issue, then the government's burden will increase. The government, in fact, has to bear more from their exchequer. Why should the government invest the share in the public market? We have been opposing this even when this bill was introduced during the last Lok Sabha. Now, madam, there are many other issues concerning the pensioners. We know under the family pension scheme, I have seen pensioners drawing pension as low as 10 rupees or 15 rupees. Even an old age pensioner draws a pension of 1,000 rupees, whereas a person who has served a public sector undertaking or who has served the government is drawing a pension as low as 100 rupees or 200 rupees. The government should do something on that. Now, in the banking sector, there is a problem. The All India Bank Employees Association has planned to go on strike, on a hunger strike on 20th of this month. There are issues where the government, the agreement, the understanding between the trade unions and the management has failed to uphold the understanding. So there are various other issues regarding pension. In this condition, the government trying to invest funds from the pension scheme in private sector will not do good to the pensioners themselves. They will be affected. So my request is that immediately the Honorable Minister should immediately withdraw the section that allows investment of pension fund in private securities. It should be only on public securities. So I request the Honorable Minister not to make investment of pension fund in private securities and do not allow FDI in pension scheme. With these words, I thank you, madam.
Mr. Elango, Mr. Elango.
That's the final,
Okay.
and that we have to accept.
Okay, Elango.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Many of the judgments by the Supreme Court is born out of anger towards politicians or the
Yes,
executive
you're right.
than out of legal sanctity. A man who cannot vote is not a man who is not eligible to vote. That is the difference. A man who is not a voter cannot contest, but a man who could not vote can contest. But there are many other things, many other loopholes in this Representation of People's Act. Only for this, the government has brought in an amendment, but the entire Representation of People's Act should be studied thoroughly and more amendments should be brought so that
Okay.
it is perfect and the Supreme Court's anger cannot be shown through this representation of
Okay.
People's Act. With these words, I thank you, sir.
माननीय सभापति महोदय,
Shri T.K.S. Ilangovan.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of our leader, Dr. Kalaignar M. Karunanidhi and the DMK party, I join the other leaders in conveying our condolences to the family and the people of South Africa. Nelson Mandela was a great leader. He had been a strong fighter against apartheid. There is a saying in Tamil, Saint Tiruvallur had said that, Pirapokkum ella uyirkum. All men are born equal. That is the tenet of a civilized society for which Nelson Mandela had to fight and had to be in prison for about 27 years. So the real respect we pay to him is by continuing his mission of fighting against apartheid, fighting against denial of civil rights to society, ethnic society, religious society or linguistic society, wherever they are denied of such rights conveyed to the majority in a civilized world. Our leader, great leader of the Dravidian movement, Thandai Periyar Ivera Ramasamy, also died at the age of 95, fighting to ensure equality in the Indian society. Nelson Mandela also had breathed his last at the age of 95. Such stalwarts changed the world. Such stalwarts gave respect to humanity. Such leaders gave respect to mankind. Such leaders ensured social justice in all respects, be it a woman or man. So, it is our mission to see that, to ensure that no society in this world, in this civilized world, is deprived of its rights, whether in India or in Sri Lanka or in other countries. With these words, I join the other leaders in conveying our condolences on behalf of the DMK party. Thank you, Madam.
Shri Vasudev Acharya.
I associate myself with the sentiments expressed by the various political leaders in the American government of America's action against our Ms. Gobragade. Madam, this has been happening time and again. Sometimes we have seen a high commissioner from another country who is working in India criticizing our leaders for our views. The Sri Lankan High Commissioner who is working in India has criticized our political leaders. Such activities should be immediately stopped. So I thank the Honorable Speaker for not giving an appointment to the Congress members of the USA. Thank you, Madam.